Hi, I am Siddiqui, and I will be presenting the work authored by my colleagues Sebastian Starke, Peter Steinbach, and myself. Our paper focuses on uncertainty estimation in instant segmentation with Star-Convex shapes. The motivation for the work is that we know the deep neural network has had tremendous success in supervising problem of image processing. However, this is only observed in closed-set conditions, where the characteristics of the data are similar between the test and the training set. But we see a significant decrease in performance in open set conditions, where the model is tested on images that do not share similar characteristics as the particular dataset used for training. Like in this case, the training data did not have sheep, but the model predicted sheep as horse and cow with very high confidence score. So it is tricky to deploy these models with high confidence and wrong predictions in high-risk areas like medicine and autonomous driving. So what we need is to know how certain the model is regarding its prediction. If we can quantify the uncertainty, then for a prediction that has high uncertainty, a human could take into account in making the predictions. So the objective of the work was to evaluate the suitability and the reliability of existing uncertainty quantification methods when applied to tasks of instant segmentation with Stardust. The dataset we used was the fluid dynamics dataset, where we have to predict the bubbles in the fluid. Basically, we want to predict the bubble and its size, which gives us insight on the feed and the mass transfer in the fluid. So an accurate spatial prediction is important, and adding uncertainty would make the prediction more reliable and robust. Additionally, to validate the approaches, we have conducted experiments on different datasets like Data Science 2018, which contains instances of nuclei and the gland segmentation dataset. As these datasets have instances that are roundish in shape, we are going to be using Stardust as it gives good prediction for instances with round shape instances. So now let's introduce Stardust model. Stardust is a very simple architecture. Basically, it's a unit, and instead of one output layer, we have two output layers. The two output layers are the object probability and the radial distances. So in Stardust, we do not learn the actual ground truth, but the modified ground truth. Inference in Stardust is a two-step process. First, the image goes through the unit and gives a dense polygon prediction, which is the object probability and the distance map. In the second step, the dense prediction is passed through the non-maximum suppression, which gives us the final prediction. So it is a very easy to implement and gives good results for rounded shape instances. And now we will talk about what they mean by uncertainty deep learning. Basically, what we do in deep learning is curve fitting to our data. With this, we cannot calculate the uncertainty of the model. So instead of a curve fit, if we fit a distribution to the data set, then we can get a distribution at the output for a given input. And from this distribution, we can calculate the uncertainty of the model. Uncertainty of deep learning is characterized in two main types. The aleatoric uncertainty is also known as the data uncertainty, which tells us how certain the prediction is given the noise in the data. And the second type of uncertainty is epistemic uncertainty, also known as the model uncertainty, which tells us how certain the prediction is given the model, given the amount of data. So we will have low aleatoric uncertainty in the region where there is less noise in the data, and high where there is more noise, whereas the epistemic uncertainty is high where there is no data. We will estimate epistemic uncertainty for this work. Thank you. There are many approaches in the literature to quantify uncertainty, but we will only restrict ourselves to two approaches. The first approach is Monte-Carlo Dropout, where we have an input during inference and pass it through the model, where the model does not use dropout during training only, but also at the time of inference. So every forward pass to the model would give us different output for same input. So now we have a set of outputs and hence a distribution at the output for which we can calculate the uncertainty. The second approach is Deep Ensemble. The difference is that instead of having a single model, we train different model with different initializations. And hence we can calculate the uncertainty in a similar fashion. Why Monte-Carlo Dropout and Deep Ensemble techniques estimate epistemic uncertainty in deep neural network can be used to perform classification or semantic segmentation tasks simply by averaging samples. This is not the case in instance segmentation, because in instance segmentation, each model's output has multiple instances. Like in this case, we assume the first model predicts the instances at the location represented by the red box, and similarly, the second model, third, and the fourth model predicts of the instances as yellow, green, and blue. In such a case, simply averaging would not work. So in instance segmentation, we need to correctly cluster similar instances together. Once you are able to cluster the instances together, we can calculate the uncertainty of the model's prediction. Due to the structure of Stardust model, we can obtain two sets of outputs. The first is the final mask output, which is obtained after the non-maximum suppression in the Stardust model, and the second is the dense output, which is obtained before the non-maximum suppression, and is the combination of the object probability and the distance map. After using two techniques, the Monte-Carlo Dropout and the Deep Ensemble, we get two sets of outputs. With the final mask output set, we calculate the uncertainty and call it the pixel approach, and in the dense output set, we calculate the uncertainty and call it the radial approach. As mentioned earlier, in instance segmentation, we need to cluster similar instances together to calculate the uncertainty. For the pixel approach, we have the final output set. We cluster the instances based on the IIA score. If the IIA score is greater than some given threshold, they are clustered together, meaning they represent the same instances, which then can be used to calculate the uncertainty. In the second approach, we have the set of dense output from the model, that is the object probability and the distance map, to calculate the uncertainty. In this approach, first we calculate the mean of the dense output, and then this mean is then put through the non-maximum suppression, from which we get the center for each instances. Finally, we get the cluster of the instances based on the center and the radial distances of the dense output. The advantage of radial approach is that its computational cost reduces, as we do not have to calculate IU for every instances with every other instances. We calculate the two types of certainty score for both approaches. The first is the fraction certainty, and the second is the spatial certainty. For the pixel approach, we visualize the uncertainty by calculating the median of every pixel as the prediction and the standard deviation to visualize the uncertainty of the instance. In the radial approach, we visualize the certainty by calculating the median of the radial distance for a given center as the prediction and the standard deviation of the radial distance to visualize the uncertainty of the instance. And below you can see the corresponding certainty scores for the given instance. But now we want to evaluate the quality of the calculated certainty score. To do so, we use the concept of calibration, where the network is said to be calibrated if its likelihood of the prediction is equal to the certainty score. So to visualize if our model is calibrated, we plot a function of proportional correction to the certainty score for the pixel approach. To create this plot, we group similar certainty measures in a given bin. What we want is this calibration function or the bin score to be equal to the identity function, but we see a deviation. So we calculate the deviation with the help of Pearson correlation coefficient, the expected calibration error, and the maximum calibration error. We do the same for the spatial certainty score. We input the calibration of the certainty score by combining the products of the two uncertainty scores. We see similar behavior when we do it for the radial approach, where the hybrid certainty score gives a better calibration results than spatial and fraction certainty scores separately. Here we see the significance of calibration, where when the model is well calibrated, it gives reliable results, and vice versa. Finally, we conduct experiments to see the effect of the forward passes on the certainty quality. So we plot three arrows to the number of forward passes. Through this, we observe that Deep Ensemble is steady and well calibrated for 10 networks. Monte-Carlo Dropout is steady after 20 to 30 forward passes, and Monte-Carlo Dropout requires a dropout rate tuning for well calibrated results. With this, I come to the end of my talk. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.